Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And yes, I know it's been a very long time since I have made any videos. Life got in the way, work got really busy. We actually did a move to another building, as well as there was some family things that kind of popped up that I had to take care of. Life gets in the way sometimes. It happens. But thankfully, things have kind of subsided a little bit, and I am taking this gorgeous day to come out here and kind of get you guys up to speed on what I've been doing kind of off camera, as well as the direction this channel is probably going to take in the future. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's get into the reason why you guys are here in the first place, to hear about the car projects. And a lot has happened. A lot has happened. The last video I made, I believe it was for the Primer 3D door cards on my 10th anniversary Miata. There's been some changes. Now, the first biggest change you guys are going to notice as I start making videos again is that my NA Miata is gone. And the reason why it's gone is, as I tore into that car when I was doing the build up, I noticed it had some frame damage. It had some severe damage that I was not told about when I bought that car. And as I was sitting here, I was thinking about what I could do, the time that I had to do it, and eventually I just put that car back together and I sold it. So originally my MB, my 10th anniversary, was supposed to be my daily driver. That was the reason why I got it. I wanted to have a fun car to drive that wasn't a turbo car, and it would just be, you know, just a fun car to drive. With the NA gone, the MB has now become the turbo build. And in the process of the beginning stages of tuning that car, I had a little mishap and spun a bearing on the engine that I built, which is sitting on this engine stand right here, waiting for me to tear it down so I can figure out what happened to it. Thankfully, I still had the original motor that was in the MB, so I was able to rebuild that one quickly, get it installed in the car, and tuning has proceeded more or less on pace since then. I do have to be careful with this engine because unfortunately I wasn't able to swap in my forged rods, so this engine is still on the stock rods. And if you know anything about turbo Miatas, the stock rods tend to go bendy around 250 to 270 wheel horsepower. So that is my absolute limit right now with this car. I could exceed it, and I know people have exceeded 270 wheel horsepower on their builds and not have any issues with the stock rods. I'm just trying to be careful because I have spent so much money on this project that I want to make sure that it will stay reliable and I won't have it breaking down like every 2 to 3 minutes because I'm bending rods. It happens. So once I got the new engine in the car, I got everything wired up, car was running great, I ran into the next problem, which is this happened. And this is a crank trigger wheel, and it has a sensor, and the sensor reads these little teeth, and this keeps your crank timing synced with the cam timing on a 99 2000, I think it's for all 99 to 2005 MBs. But basically this is a Fab 9 tuning wheel, and it is designed to be used on a stock / fluid damper type dampener as well. You could break out the center and use it on an ATI damper. Unfortunately in my case, it sheared itself off. Luckily, I was at low boost, just doing some normal driving logs. I wasn't in boost at all. I was putting around I want to say about 30, 35 miles per hour, when all of a sudden the power in the car just stopped. I was data logging at the time so I could see what was happening. My spark timing went from about 30 degrees advanced and it dropped to 10 and just flatlined. Now, 10 is base timing on this car, and I checked my fuel pressure, which was fine. I checked my oil pressure, it was fine there. Most of the vitals were fine, it's just I lost spark. So I pulled over, I got into a parking lot, I was able to, you know, make sure that everything okay. I didn't put a window in my block, nothing was broken. And I always keep secondary cam and crank sensors in the car just for cases like this. And when I went to go replace the crank sensor, that's when I noticed my trigger wheel didn't look exactly center on the damper. And so I was able to spin it. And I have a video on my Instagram where I showed you guys this, but basically this had broken away from this, and this was bolted to the damper. I was able, once I got the car towed home, I tore it down, and like I said, this was still firmly bolted to my dampener. My bolts were all still torqued, and what has happened was that this just sheared off. I did some research into it. Multiple people have had issues with these Fab 9 crank trigger wheels. All of them have similar stories where you're just driving around and then boom, you know, you lose timing and the car shuts off. Thankfully, I was at a low RPM, so I really didn't damage anything. Other people have destroyed their timing covers, and you know, it's just not a good time when something like this lets go. Thankfully, I was able to get a replacement, and I replaced it with a Flying Miata trigger wheel where this entire center section is filled in, so there's no worry at all about this ever happening again. And now this is just decoration on my garage wall. But I know what's on all of you guys' mind. You're wondering about my Mazda Speed 3. You're wondering what great improvements that I've made to it in the time since you last saw a video on it. Well, I'm here to tell you, I haven't done much, but I have done some things. Let's get into it. As for my Speed 3, that car is doing great. It's been super reliable. I haven't had anything really to do on it except for just oil changes, just standard maintenance stuff. I did have one issue with the sensor in the passenger door going bad, and if you don't know what that is or have experienced it yet, but you will, you'll be driving down the street, you'll hit a bump or something, and then on the information display on the car, it'll tell you like the door is open. And then you look at the door and it's obviously closed and latched, but the sensor is malfunctioning, saying that the door is open, and then it turns on your dome light and it starts to become a nuisance. Like, yeah, it gets really annoying. So the culprit is this, and this is the one that came out of my passenger door. And basically, one of these controls the lock, one of these controls the door mechanism, and this is the sensor that I'm talking about. And then what happens is, for some unknown reason, when it starts to go bad, you hit a small bump or whatever, and it thinks that the door is open, and then it does, like I mentioned earlier. Taking it out, it's not that hard. You basically just have to get the door panel off, take out the bolts that are securing the inner panel, and then there are 3 screws that you need to take out to remove the unit once you have disconnected the connector. Note, the screws that come out of here, they are not Phillips head, they are JIS. And if you don't know what a JIS screwdriver looks like, this is a JIS screwdriver. This is from a company called Vessel, as you see, and the tip of it looks like a Phillips head, but it is not. If you try to use a Phillips head on a JIS screw, you will strip them out, guaranteed. I have done it numerous times, especially when I was working on the Miata. So I actually broke down, I ordered this, I got this one off Amazon. I will leave a link down in the description so you can get one. If you are working on Japanese vehicles, and I'm talking cars, motorcycles, lawn equipment, whatever, you need a JIS screwdriver. This is mandatory. It makes getting them out so much easier. You're less likely to strip them, and it's one of those things that you should have in your toolbox, tool chest, whatever, especially if you are working on these cars. This is an absolute must. As for the mods I'll be doing to my Mazda Speed 3, I'm at the point where I don't know if I want to do more to that car. In the 7 years that I have owned it, it has been reliable. I mean, outside of me really only having to maintenance, and I did have to change a battery, I have not had a single issue with that car. And where I'm at now, I'm basically fully bolted on. I got all the bolt-ons you can get, outside of a couple small things. From here to get any more power, it starts becoming expensive. Like, the price jumps. And now I'm looking into secondary fueling options, maybe a water methanol kit, things like that. And I don't know if I want to go that far with that car. I am very happy with the way it sits right now. Like I said, it's super reliable. There are some things about it though that are kind of irritating to me, and one of the things I wanted to address was the way that I mounted my front mount intercooler. If you go back to that video, I got a Mishimoto S-Line, and I got the crash bar from JBR. That bar was made for a treadstone, and the Mishimoto sits quite a bit taller, and there was a lot of modification or mangling to get that bar and that intercooler to fit properly. And even though it fits and it's secure, I just don't like the way that it looks. It's been bothering me for a while. Originally, I was going to take the time and just weld up a brand new crash bar. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to do it. And it's on my list of things to do this year. So imagine my surprise when I found out that Graveyard Performance makes crash bars. They make crash bars for the first generation Mazda Speed 3. They make crash bars for the second generation Mazda Speed 3. They even make a crash bar that allows you to fit a Mishimoto S-Line intercooler properly to the front of the car. So, guess what I did? That's right, I purchased one. And probably in the next video, I will be putting it on my car. This is one of the things that has been driving me insane for the past 2, almost 3 years since I made that video putting the front mount intercooler on my car. And now, thankfully, I can take care of it and get it mounted properly. So, if you are interested in seeing that video, and I'm sure all of you are, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you know the moment that video comes out. And FYI, I will start recording that video as soon as I'm done recording this one. There are some other things I want to address on the Speed 3 this year. Number one, I think I need to make a suspension change. The Racework stuff, I've had it on the car for a couple years now. It's okay, but I am noticing that I am like really crashing and going over bumps very hard. And I haven't tried adjusting them, trying to get some softness back in suspension, but it's just not happening. And I really noticed it once I got the Miata up and running. The Miata's on BC racing coils, and that thing hits bumps and soaks them up no problem. I'll go down the same street in my Speed 3, hit the same bump, and it's like I am bottoming out in a pothole or something. It's not a comfortable, pleasant ride anymore. So I'm doing a research right now, seriously thinking about getting a set of Fortune 500 coilovers made for that car. And it's one of the things that I'm thinking about. But, you know, that's for a later video. I'm going to go ahead and end this one now because I've been talking for a very long time and I got a whole lot of work ahead of me. I haven't done an outro in so long I forgot how to do it. Let's try again. I hope you all are enjoying your weekend and enjoying your Memorial Day. I will try to do the same, and I will see you guys the next time.